In this tutorial series, I'm going to teach you how to make a top-down scrolling shooter game in Scratch. In this first video, we will go over setting up the scrolling engine and the player movement to get something that looks like this. Make sure you leave a like if this helps you, and consider subscribing if you want to see more tutorials from me. To start, I have a player and a level. We're going to create the main game loop, so we're going to go to the stage. We're going to say, when green flag clicked, and we're going to broadcast the message set up so we can get all of our sprites ready. And then, instead of using a forever loop, I like to use repeat loops. So then, eventually, we can put something in here to specify when the game is over. But for now, we'll leave that empty so it goes forever. And we'll do another broadcast. And we'll make this one called tick. I'll explain why a bit later. And then we're going to create a variable. We'll delete this default one. And we're going to call this variable tick interval. Just like that. Click OK. And we're going to set tick interval to 100. We'll hide it. Next, we're going to go to player. When I receive setup, put the player in the center. Make sure his costume is switched to idle. In the costume, I have a player with some fists. Just one costume for now, just put it to idle. We're going to go to variables, and we're going to make some variables. Scroll X for all sprites. Scroll Y for all sprites. X for this sprite only. And Y for this sprite only. We'll hide them all. And we're going to set X to 0 and Y to 0 at the beginning. And we're also going to make sure the player is being shown. Next, we're going to go to level. And here, we're basically going to do the same thing. When I receive setup, put it to 0, 0. Currently, I have two blank costumes here. I have one called blank, one called map. Right now, I'm going to fill this in so it will work like that. And as you can see, it covered up the player, which is not what we want. So eventually we're going to blow this up really big, and it'll be our map. And I'll show you how to do that right now. So, first of all, put it to the back. Go to back layer. And then we're going to blow it up with the size hack. So if you're not familiar with it, basically, it's switching it to a blank costume. And we're blowing it up. For now, I'll set it to 1000. And then we're switching it back to the normal thing. So if we run it, it's in the back. You see it's really big. It's covering full screen. So that works good. We're also going to put a setup here on the stage, and we're just going to set scroll X and scroll Y to 0. Just to reset everything. Okay, so we've started our game loop. In the player, instead of using a forever, we're going to use this tick. And basically that'll make the game run smoother because everything will be in sync. So first we're going to say, when I receive tick, and we're going to repeat tick interval. So this will make everything run smoother because it'll be repeating it multiple times. So it'll almost run more than once, so it'll be really smooth. We want it to point towards our mouse pointer for now. So now when we run it, it points towards our mouse, which is great. Next, we're going to create a new custom block called player movement. Make sure run without screen refresh is checked, and we're going to add two inputs. So we're going to add one called speed and one called smooth amount. I'll explain what these do later. And then put this custom block inside of our tick. We're going to set these values to 4 and 10 for now. We're going to make another custom block called try move. We're going to add 3 inputs, X, Y, and costume. Run without screen refresh again. Okay. We're going to put the try move block underneath the player movement block. And what this is going to do is it's going to check if we run into a wall. And if we do, it's not going to move there. So we actually have to create a wall before we make this block. So we'll go to level. and make sure it's bitmap. Zoom in a bunch. And click on your rectangle tool. Set it to outline. Set the thickness to 1. Make sure your fill is completely black. This will be our collision color. Draw a square like that and put it in the middle. It should show up on the screen like this. Next, go to your eraser tool. Set the size to 16. This is a good size for a doorway. And then click where you want your doorway to be, like that. There we go. And then we can fill in the room so it looks like a room. So let's get a darker color. And fill it in. Fill in this section too. Perfect. So next we can code our collisions. So in this try move, first of all, we're gonna have to make a hitbox for the player. So we're gonna duplicate this idle thing. We'll call it hitbox. We'll delete his fists, and I'll just fill this in to be black so it looks nice. There you go. So when we do try move, when we do our collisions, we're gonna set it to hitbox. We're gonna make sure the rotation style is on don't rotate. 2 minus operators in here, and on the left side of each of them put an addition operator. X here, Y here, and then we're gonna grab these that we made earlier, X and Y. Oops, like that. Put scroll X and scroll Y in the empty ones. Make sure that these are all X and these are all Y. Next, drag out an if block, and we're gonna check if we're touching our collision color, which right now is black. So we're gonna say if touching this color right here. Now, it's important that you do completely black and you make your other sprites not completely black. So as you can see here, for me, it's not completely black, which means the player won't count as a collision, which is good. So then, if not touching color black, we're gonna change our X and Y by these X and Y. So what this is doing is these are basically dummy variables. So instead of using the player's normal X and Y, we've created variables for them so we can easily control them and determine if we want to actually move the player. And that's what's happening here. We're going to switch the player's costume back to its defined costume. So this is what this is. So drag that into there. And then set the rotation style back to all around. And then in this block right here, this last input value would be costume name, like that. And then here we're going to do some algorithms to sense input. So first of all, we want to, this is for X axis and this is for Y axis. This one will be A and D keys, and this one will be W and S. When key W is pressed, and when key S is pressed. True and false. These come back in numerical operations. So if I add this to 0, I get 0 and 1. Right? So we can multiply this by our speed, which right now is 4, to get the speed, right? We have to do the same thing for S, except we have to multiply it by -1 to make it a negative value, like that. And then we can add these together to get how much we should move our Y by. So we have this one. Now we can duplicate it and move it over and change this to A and D. And that should work good. Now I put it in. I'll just clean up my blocks. There we go. Alright, so now we have that big piece. So if we run, we should get good collisions. Yeah, there you go. So the player can't collide into the wall. Oh, I realized I messed up. These should be switched. D should be positive and A should be negative. Like that. Make sure you have this. This is important. But you'll notice that if I collide with the wall, that is fine. If I go down, he's closer. Right here. And if I go over here, he's super close. I don't know why this is. Scratch is just weird. His collisions are even, you can see. So if this is happening to you, how I fixed it, I went to his hitbox, and I clicked on it, and then you press the arrow key down 10 times, and then the right arrow key 10 times as well. And that will fix the collision issue if you run the game again. Okay, next we have to get him scrolling. So at the end of this, we're going to scroll the level. So we're going to change scroll X and scroll Y by round and division operator and subtraction operator. And then inside of these, we're going to put the X variable, the scroll X variable, and then the smooth amount. And we'll duplicate this and change it for Y. Perfect. So next, we want to actually make this work. We're going to put the scrolling thing inside of here. Go to, and then two subtraction operators go inside of this. And we're going to do the X variable minus the scroll X variable. Same thing for Y. Y variable minus the scroll Y variable. So we're going to do the same thing here. I'll just drag this block into the level. When I receive tick, repeat, tick interval, and we'll go to there. So now it should, there you go. Our collisions are still weird, you might notice, and we can fix some of those issues by putting this block in a separate tick thing. So I'll just duplicate this, get rid of it, and then put that in a separate tick loop, like that. And that should fix some of the errors. Perfect.